All right, all right. Welcome everybody to our countdown to convention. We are now, believe it or not, we are 14 days away from the special business presentation that'll be done by JR and Andrew on Wednesday night, and 15 days away from the start of the entire event. So we're moving fast. We've got a lot to accomplish in the next 14 days. It's great to see everybody. I love that you guys are putting where you're from. Looks like we've got people from all around the world. Hello, Hong Kong. Good morning, I should say there, right? Arlene, looks like you got a Grass Valley team that's on supporting you as well. My name is Jim Winkler. I'll be your host tonight. I'm the Vice President of Sales with Market America, and my wife Lisa and I are Executive Field Vice Presidents with the company as well. And I've got two really special guests with me tonight, and I want to get to them right away because they've got so much to offer. They've got years of experience and so much talent that they bring to the table. They are truly superstars and sort of heroes of the company. And I'll start off introducing one of my good friends, Andy Webb. Andy is a director in the company and $1 million earner with the company as well. I think Andy was my first home business presentation that I ever saw in Market America. He actually traveled from Maryland to Wisconsin and did a presentation. I heard about this young superstar, and I said, I got to go see this guy. And he did it was, you probably remember that presentation pretty well, Andy.
Wow.
Very well. We had one of those people in the crowd who was a little goofy, and you had to set him a little straight on what was going to happen.
It's like JR when he first showed the plan, his underwear was a little too tight.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, it's great to have you on, and congratulations on all your accomplishments over the years, and it's gonna be fun talking to you tonight. And our other superstar who you see is Arlene Lowey. And Arlene, you're gonna need to, there you go, unmute yourself. She has been known for years as the OPC queen of Market America. In fact, there were rumors, Arlene, you had a drive-through window. People would go by and just pick up their OPC3 and hand you the cash. Back in the cash days, they'd be probably charging you or Venmoing you now with that. But she is a field vice president, which means she's earned in excess of $36,000 in a 4-week pay cycle. Has built this business to huge levels. Obviously, $1 million club member. Both of these guys are members of our advisory council. Andy's been a president and chairman of that as well in the past. But Arlene, so great to have you. I've had the pleasure of working with you personally the last about month. We've been able to do some things, and I've just been so impressed at what you've done and what you're continuing to do. So thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
It's great. Let's Arlene, let's start with you, and let me ask you, what were you doing before you started with Market America?
Well, it really goes back a little bit further. At 28 years of age, I was in the corporate world. I was with Sony Corporation, and I really learned the work ethics of the people from that country. But what I also found out that I made $36,000 a month. No, a year, but I wanted to make it a month. See, I keep on thinking that. And I actually, no matter what I did, I always excelled. In other words, if someone said do 3 million, I did 4 million. I was always that type of person, A-type personality. Bottom line was very simple. I just looked at my boss one day and said, I'm out of here. He says, where are you going? I says, I'm just leaving. There's just nothing for me here. He says, what are you talking about? I said, I'm leaving. Where are you going? Don't worry where I'm going. I'll be fine. And I walked out. I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything. I just had the belief that there was something better out there. I met some people in the home-based business industry by total fluke, by accident, just like everyone else who's just talking to someone. They showed me a product. I liked it. And that was the entrance into the industry of working out of my house, which I really love, by the way. My background is I'm a master's in teaching, but I had a problem getting to school on time to teach the kids because I'm not an early riser. So I like getting up at 10 o'clock. That's my 10 o'clock, because that's my biological clock. So that fit in. But I also love the fact that I could be at home, but I could also build a business and I could change people's lives. I really loved it. And I could do everything I was doing in teaching in a whole different way. And I ended up in the industry and I ended up in multi-level marketing. I was trained by one of the best in the industry. He's written about 5 books, 4 languages, does extremely well in the industry, just understands it. And he just trained me. He said I had the skills. But unfortunately, when you're in these companies, the people that run the companies don't run them so well, and they always go down. So no matter if I was at 40,000, 50,000, it didn't last but 4 or 5 years.
When you're saying 40 and 50,000, you mean per month?
Oh yeah, that's a month.
Yeah.
So if you want to keep on talking to people and watch how their lives change, and people's lives are changing incredibly right now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that you think you know what's going on behind those doors. So open the door, have different conversations, tap back into them. That's what I did. But that's what he did to me. And really the actual day, by the time he really schooled me, he actually had me on the phone with JR and Marty Weissman. I remember I was in my office in my apartment, lying on the floor talking to these guys. And JR was telling me, you know, R, you need, they call me R, you need to really take a look at this business. I said, oh my God, another one. Ugh. And he says, this is different. I said, oh, I've heard it all. And it just went on and on and on. And I, you know, I just laughed. I laughed at him because I knew about him in the industry, because both he and I had done extremely well in multi-level marketing. But most people didn't. And I said, if you don't take out the negatives in multi-level and create a company, you won't make it, JR. And that's what he did in this company. Took every negative out of multi-level and framed it as the corporate world. But he took everything. I'm telling you, we're not a 30-day plan. We have a GMTSS. Everyone trains everybody's people.
Yeah, so important.
No,
You and I are not in the same line yet. We've been working
we
together
work
a
with
lot
each other
recently.
constantly. You're constantly sponsoring people for me because you're always on stage.
I
And
love
now-
it.
and-
And how long ago, what was that, Arlene? So we're talking, what year did you start?
Oh my God, here we go. October 1994, 27 years practically.
Well, you know, but that's an important thing for people to understand, because I think, you know, if I'm someone looking at this, like when I was looking at it, and that was a few years later, I wanted something that I was going to do for 15, 20. I wanted my future. I wasn't there to do it for a year or two, make some money and see if it worked. I was like, if I became involved with my team, I wanted my team to succeed, and you can only succeed if you have time.
Right.
And obviously, I loved what you said earlier, where you said, you know, you weren't going to leave your team. I think that's such a vital thing
No.
people need to understand. If you want to build a great team, you got to be a great leader, and you got to take care of your team. Well, I can tell you, I know you broke records when you started.
No,
Because
I came out of the gate very quickly, because what happened was during that year and a half, I already was talking to the people that I wanted to be in the business with me. And one of the things I always do is I make sure they're not in anybody else's organization. They're in another company, because I don't like to steal people's people.
Yeah,
Because you're stealing people's money, their dreams and their aspirations.
that's
So
right.
all these people really were looking for something else. And I said to them, I said, I found something. They said, I don't care if you're selling broomsticks, I'll come with you. So the day that Frank Kiefer, the third time he came over, I don't even know if you know this story, Andy. Actually, what happened was I had 8 people sitting in the room, and he was up there on the whiteboard. And I didn't understand anything about this plan. It was so different than multi-level marketing. I was completely confused. But he signed me up, and I signed up all 8 people at 1,400 BV, because that's how you came in, and hit executive coordinator that night. So then we went to go to the hotel where Pam and Tony Bowling were going to give me an ECCT and the rest of my crew. And they said, it's open book. And I said, it's open book. What are we looking at? Take an executive coordinator the same week.
Wow.
That's really that story. That's my story. I mean, you know.
And you have not looked back since then either. And, you know, I'm going to jump to Andy, but I want to say I have so much respect for you, because not only did you do that, you've obviously earned tremendously for a long time, but you're in the game now. You're not I did it. You know, it was great. You are in there now. And I love that. And you're still making it happen. And people always ask, well, why would someone do it? Because it's fun. Because why wouldn't you? Because you can help somebody else, and you're still building your own business. That's right. Let's move over to Andy. Andy, let me ask you, what were you doing before you started with Market America?
Nothing.
No babies, no babies.
I was in between businesses, so it wasn't like I was doing nothing, but I had a previous business that had run out of money, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And fortunately for me, I ran into Frank Kiefer as well. A little bit different story than Arlene. I didn't know Frank. I didn't know who he was, but I was in the process of looking into different businesses, and I might have it in my wallet. I happened to run across an ad in the newspaper. I guess it's kind of old school social media marketing, if you will. But
Yeah.
I ran into Frank through this ad, and
Wow.
I keep it in my wallet because it certainly was life-changing for me. But you can't see it obviously on the screen, but it says "Become wealthy with me." And my first thought was that's got to be the hokiest MLM ad I've ever seen. But something
Yeah, for those of you watching, please do not replicate that. I'm just gonna say that.
calling me back, and in the contents it said, commercial goods and services. So I thought, well, I can't be multi-level. Not that I had a problem with multi-level. I'd never been involved with multi-level, but I had experience in traditional direct sales, and I'd always looked. I just never liked the way those systems were set up. They were all based on width. The system is antiquated. It's brought around before computerization, and this is back in the 1990s, in the late 19th century. Or the late 1900s, I should say. But so I saw that ad, and it's a little different than most people get exposed to the business. But I went in and met with Frank, and he shared this incredible business with me. And I fell in love with the plan right away when he went through the management performance compensation plan and the vertical search to infinity. The volume accrued to you were paid. You could assign people and assign business volume under people. You could re-enter underneath yourself, and you could get paid multiple times on the same volume. I mean, the plan just blew me away. And so at that point in time, I was in between businesses. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I had 2 kids, and my wife was pregnant with her 3rd daughter. And I made a decision to jump in and build a business full time from the very, very beginning. It's not what most people do. It's not designed to be done that way. It's designed to be done on a part-time basis when you match or exceed your income. And then you have the option to do it on a full-time basis if you wanted. But I'd always worked for myself, so it wasn't a big leap of faith for me to continue to do that. I knew the first year I'd suck some wind getting it built. Just like any business, it takes a little bit of time to get built. But within 11 months, I hit the level of supervising coordinator, and I had a business development center, pretty much maxed out. Not quite as fast as Arlene.
It's great though hearing, Arlene came with some tremendous experience in home-based businesses and networking. You came with 0 experience, yet both had great success with it.
Yeah, I didn't have any experience in multi-level because I didn't like the way the systems were set up. I did have some traditional business experience. And so I brought that experience to the table. But I was young. I was only 28 years old, wet behind the ears. I didn't know a whole lot of people. But I knew that I didn't want to trade time for money anymore. I wanted to build a business where I could leverage my time and my income. And so that's really, what attracted me to the business in the beginning, was the way the marketing plan was structured. And also that we were a product broker. I knew we'd never become obsolete. And
Right.
Then vision was the other thing that really attracted me. And I know we don't have this article, but I love sharing this article with people from the New Jersey newspaper back in 1984, where he talks about, he thought within 5 years of 1984, people would be buying products online. They would be shopping online. And this is in an article written in 1984. He thought by
crazy thinking back then, right?
And what's unique, for me, 26 years later here, it'll be September, 95 when I started, is that everything he ever said was going to happen took place. I guess genius behind his vision, to be able to take every dollar we have. This is where the shopping annuity comes in. We didn't know what to call it. He talked about, hey, one day, Arlene, we'll be able to get anything and everything 24/7, and we'll get paid on it. Where do you see the mall without walls? I mean, look at talking about. But he had vision that nobody else had, and thankfully, I saw that and fell in love with the marketing plan, and the marketing plan has remained the same ever since. It's as powerful today as it was when he first brought it out. No one's been able to duplicate it. And I think that's because he created our company first. He created the compensation plan first, and then we put product into it. He didn't build the company around one particular product or service or one industry. He built the company around a compensation plan. All those other companies, they make the pay plan in the best interest of the company or the manufacturer based on the profitability of that one product or service, whereas JR created the compensation plan for the unfranchised owner, so much so that he put himself in as the first unfranchised owner and was willing to be paid just like everybody else. And I've never seen any other president or CEO, any company, any industry where he was willing to pay himself exactly the same way everybody else was getting paid. And so
I agree. It's and the great thing of that vision he had then, it is still a vision he's moving forward. What's happening now is finally, like you said, getting close to what he was looking for, but then he sees further out again. Right. And between him and Lauren and Mark, we're so fortunate to have a forward-looking company that allows things like we're doing right now to take place, that saw this happening. We moved so quickly into this world when really the pandemic hit. We moved on to Zoom, and it really actually sped up, I think, some of the things we were trying to accomplish as an internet-based company, as a shopping company, to be able to do that. Well, Andy, I'm really glad that you did answer that ad, as hokey as it was. And I don't think it was the ad. I think it was the plan that made sense to you. I've always said Andy was valedictorian of his college, and very, very smart. And I always think people who understand numbers understand this plan. When you see that, when you understand the plan, there is no way that you want to walk away without building it. And it's tremendous what you've done. You've gone on to have 13 kids?
About half that.
About half that. So that time on your hands just made Julie, have to do a lot more work. But you've raised a great family and been able to do that as well, which is wonderful. Let's move back to Arlene for a minute.
Did you have one child when you started with the
I had
company?
2 kids and 1 on the way.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. And the other thing is that every single time you showed the plan, I thought it was Frank Kiefer showing the plan. You're just like Marty Weissman's son, Andrew. When he shows a plan, I think JR showing the plan. It's just like you duplicated him to the T. It was unbelievable. And it was just amazing. But the other thing you said, you bought the plan. We had no choice but to buy the plan. We didn't have any products to sell. We came in and I don't know what they had, jewelry, or they had, I don't remember the first line. Oh, thermochrome. That was the only product they had. So we didn't come in because we loved the products. You guys are lucky. You're the ones with the 14 divisions now. You're the one with the internet. I saw this on a napkin. What did you see? That's how they showed it to me, on a napkin. I didn't see it on a PowerPoint. I didn't have all these.
And you know what's important, Arlene, is you're saying this, what you bought wasn't the presentation, the way it was done, how fancy it was. You bought the passion.
Yeah.
Same thing, Andy, you bought the logic, and you bought Frank's passion on what he was going to do. And I love hearing that, because so many people get caught up in today's. I had 2 people today who said to me, I feel a little lost because of everything going on with computerization and all of this. And I said, guys, you're missing the boat here. It's about the products, like it always has been. They're great to help a lot of people. And it's about building a team. And that means treating people good and getting them to the events. And I said, that's what this is about. The rest you can learn again as we go along, and it's beneficial, but keep it simple. People buy the passion. They buy where you're going to go with it. And Arlene, that's really great you said that.
Yeah, and let me just jump in here. I mean, we have some incredible tools, obviously, at our disposal now that we never had before. And sometimes I think that's a detriment to building the business, because right now you can show the plan to somebody but not know the plan. Mm-hmm. And back then when we started, you had to know the plan to show the plan. And that's when you really fell in love with it, because you understood how powerful it was and you had to know it. You couldn't show it. If you didn't know, now you can you can push play, you can listen to a video, you can listen to somebody else, but you don't really internalize it until you have to show it, to somebody else. I think one of the most important things anybody can do is sit down and draw it out,
Draw it out.
show it. And it's more important that you're showing it to yourself than anything else, because you're reselling yourself as to how powerful the business is. I mean, I was doing that today. I did a recording and went through horizontal versus vertical, and was so fired up I couldn't contain myself, and I wasn't even showing the plan to anybody. But I was doing a recording.
But you were showing it to somebody, Andy. You were showing it to yourself.
Exactly.
And I think you said that to me when I was new, and I went to you for some advice. You said, you just keep showing that plan. And, it's so true. Every time you show it, I think the first person you show it to is you. When people say, oh, I've lost a little passion, my first question is, when's the last time you showed the plan?
Right.
Always been too long. Would you agree with that, Arlene?
Yeah, and something else that's important, and Andy's saying the same thing. The first thing that you're selling is you. Okay. Market America is a tremendous vehicle, but if the person across the table isn't looking at you, that you're going to actually change their life, enhance their life, whichever way, shape, or form, it doesn't matter what company you're with, because it's whether you're going to be there for them, develop them, and we'll talk about why you sell tickets and how you sell tickets, because it's all about what you're doing with that ticket.
Great. That leads to a great segue for me. I wanted to ask you, Arlene, what was your experience at like your first event you went to,
Oh, my
like a
goodness.
major event? There's a lot of people who are watching this who might be thinking, should I go to this major event coming up? What was your experience?
Are you going to be ready for this one? Okay, it was in Tyson's Corner, and it was in the February, because I came in October, and Frank Kiefer said, you have to have as many people there as possible. I says, who are you talking to? I know that. And I had 50 people there on purpose.
Wow.
Because I knew that they had to get it from someone else. They had to have the energy, and they had to see how real this company was. Whether you're going to watch it online, whatever, you've got to be a part of the whole system, and you've got to connect with people. And that's where they connect. They got to get the energy. But the reality is being around people. I mean, like, I'm on the phone with certain people in my organization, and we're connected every single day, multiple times a day. Keep on empowering each other, making each other, doing positive things. And one of my favorite people is Barb Bolt. And the other person is Norm Roth. He's got more energy than I know what to do with. And by the way, he's a big part of my organization also.
Yeah, two of my favorites who both started here in the Milwaukee area. Norm now, of course, out in the Arizona area, and Barb spending sometimes up northern Wisconsin and then back here. It's great what they've been able to do with the business building it. Andy, let me move to you. What was your experience at your first major event? It probably wasn't JR buying a car.
Well, it might have been the same event.
I think it was.
First major corporate event for me was in Northern Virginia. I don't know if it was the same one as Arlene. Mine was in it was February of, I started in 95, so it was February of 1996. There was maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people there. And you really got the feel for the heart of JR and the company and the passion. I mean, really, the company was only 3 years old, Jim. I mean, we were just getting started back then. And the thing that stood out in my mind was what, and I had some previous experience in building, sales teams and having them attend events, and the impact that it had on their success, mainly because of the knowledge and belief that you develop when you're at a larger event like that. And when I went to my first event, I thought, man, all I have to do is get people plugged in to this system. If I get people plugged into the system, they're going to get the same information I'm getting. They're going to develop the same belief I'm getting, and they're going to do the business whether I do it or not. And we're going to be able to create a team and learn together at the same time. And so that's the thing that really stood out in my mind, was how powerful the meeting system is to developing your business. Without hesitation, he said, hey, you need to get 50 people in your left sales organization and 50 people in your right sales organization plugged into the GMTSS, in particular to your first international convention. Well, my first event was a world conference, which was about 3 months after I started. And that major event that I was focused on getting 50 and 50 was my first international convention in Greensboro, which took place in July of 1996. And within 6 weeks of that event is when I hit supervising coordinator, because I had enough people at that event that were going to do this business, whether I did it or not. It wasn't just people that I personally sponsored. I want to make sure that everybody understands that. It was the organization. It was the
That's right.
it was
That's right.
and it was the advanced stuff Frank talked about and trained on that I think, most people are familiar with, and that's we're going to use and share products so we can develop our customer base, and we're going to show the plan so we can expand distribution, and we're going to promote and attend events. And that was the total focus for me. And having experienced the first local that I went to, and then a regional, and then a major corporate event, I know, man, these are the stepping stones to getting there fast. And so, my goal was, I force people to go. And if I'm going to spend time with you, I need you to go. I can't have you behind the 8 ball. And, I want you to be successful, and I need you to be there with me if this is going to work.
Oh, I love, Andy, I love everything you're saying. I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, wow, I got to make more phone calls. I got to get more people there, because that's what we grew up on, right? We were all talking a little bit earlier. It's still the same thing. It's people get confused because of all the advantages we have to do it, but it's still the same thing. Are we working to get people to the events? And I love hearing you say that. And I want to move to Arlene on this, because Arlene, I know what you've been doing, but I want you to share it. How have you been getting so many people? I mean, you and I are on a conference call every week, and every week it's like, well, Arlene sold 4 tickets to the event. Arlene sold 5 tickets to the event. Arlene sold 6 tickets to the event. And I'm like, man, she's tearing it up. How are you doing that?
Well, it's interesting. I got on the phone tonight and you just said to me, you sold 5 tickets tonight. And I said, well, I sold 2.
I know you did.
You're outdoing me now. It's very simple. The fact of the matter, because we're hybrid, and I know that there are people who can't get there. Can't is not an option right now to me in my head. So what I've done is I've taken legs, and I've always said this, that every person that's in your organization, whether you brought them in or someone else brought them in, is a gift to you to be on your team.
No, I love that.
You
A
need
gift to
treat
you.
them-
Everybody should hear that twice. It's a gift to you. They're on your team.
Right. Now, as a leader, you should be calling every single person and introducing yourself, because there's a lot of people who've been in the business that maybe their sponsorship is no longer there. And so they're orphans, or they think they're orphans, and they have so much talent if someone would direct them. You can wake the dead. I mean, you can wake the dead. I mean, the person who doesn't have any kind of reference to this thing. So the bottom line is I'm calling every single person.
Personal phone calls from Arlene Lowey.
I'm just calling them.
Yeah.
And some people I've texted 3 times and I said, you're not answering me, so I guess I'm going to call you. I mean, I really bothered 2 people the other day, but I found that if I have anybody in my organization that I know that has an extra ticket, okay, or a couple here, I want them sold. I want someone else to take the place of them. So what I'm doing is I'm calling people. I even called a guy today and he says, who are you? And I says, I am a person who's been in the business 27 years. Well, why are you calling me? I said, because you're important to me. You're in my organization. I'd like to know if you're interested in really evaluating this business properly. And he goes, I'm so glad someone finally called me. You'd be surprised. I mean, it's just like, as I said, everybody in my organization, I brought in 6 people the first day, 4 are still with me, and everybody underneath that is a gift. Every single person is a gift, because it's everybody else's too, for whatever that was gifted to me in my business. That's how I look at it. But I think that everybody needs to understand that they need to start calling every single person. The other thing that I think is really critical and understanding about buying 3 tickets, it's not to ruin what's in your purse. It's not to make the purse heavy. It's because you as a leader, the next 6 months before the next event, should be taking the people that came, bought the tickets, or even in the hybrid form, and now start building them with new members, get them activated, get the coordinator, executive coordinator, and get those tickets sold to brand new people. And if anybody is left with tons and tons of tickets, they didn't do their job. I'm sorry. They didn't do their job, because the job of the leader, of the pact is to start developing and working with their people underneath them and getting new blood.
Oh, perfect, perfect. And I love, so everybody caught this. Arlene said she is calling people, not putting a post on Facebook, not just a text. The text might be to let her know that she's gonna call, but she's calling them. And the other thing she said, and I want to make sure you heard it, was she said that they're important and let them know that. I think those are key points to take away. Andy, and what are you doing? As I know how strong you are, like Arlene, on bringing people to the event. What are you doing right now to get more teammates either there physically or there online?
Well, one thing I think, Arlene kind of talked about this, is that we're kind of all experiencing is that I miss seeing everybody.
Oh, so much so.
And being around other positive, successful people. We all need our batteries, recharge, refuel each other. Success breeds success, and you want to be around like-minded individuals. Unfortunately, we're kind of isolated, and so what I'm doing is reaching out, within the organization, encouraging people to do the same thing. And I want to see people. I'm Zooming people. I want to Zoom them so we can talk, face to face, find out if they're coming in person, if they're going to be there online. I'm assuming they're going to be one or the other. I mean, heck, you don't even have to go anywhere, and you can be. So there's really no excuse not to be there. It takes all the excuse out. Plus, you have 14 days to review everything if you can't be in front of the computer.
Right.
It's incredible. The hybrid is really unique. I'm going to be there in person because I want to be around people. I want to see people. I want to reconnect. And so I'm reaching out. These next 2 weeks are critical to reach out to people you might not have seen in a while, because we're used to going to UBPs and seeing people and chatting, and it's just not happening, like it was. And I think people need that. I need it. So I know I need it. I know that other people in my organization need it, and I think other leaders need it. We need to be around each other. I think this is going to be another one of those magic moments. From a corporate standpoint and a business building standpoint, but I think everybody needs to get down in their organization, either with a phone call or a Zoom. I just want to see people, and I would and really just reconnect and say, hey, how's things going? If you haven't talked to people in a while, and if find out if they're going to be there live or in person.
Right, and either way, get that ticket in their hand, because the only reason you wouldn't buy a ticket right now, with everything Andy just said, either be there live, which is, for anyone who can, that's the number one. Some can't because of health reasons, some can't because of different reasons, but being there live is such a great thing. And I think it's going to sort of be like what you and Arlene talked about, because it's going to be a smaller group of people where people are going to get time to really feel that heart of the company. But if you can't be there live, you can be there online. And if you can't, I talked to two people who said, well, Thursday and Friday, I've got to work. I cannot take off. I said, great. That's where, as Andy said, you got the 14-day window to watch it. And they both bought tickets, because really, in my mind, what I'm thinking is, if someone doesn't buy a ticket now, they're saying, I don't want to build at all. I don't even want to really do anything but get my products, maybe sell a little bit here and there, and that's it. Because we've got every option covered for them. And you guys are spectacular in your communication on reaching down to people and making personal phone calls and making sure they feel important, and why it's important to have that full team there like that. I'm fired up just being here with both of you for this. So I'm going to, Arlene, turn it to you. Any final thoughts you would like to give to anybody? And then I'll turn it to you, Andy. And then after that, we will wrap up. Now, the boxes went out today. I've been coming out. So some of you may be opening your boxes to see whether you have golden tickets or not. Remember, we've got a golden ticket, which is worth $3,000 of a credit on account to be able to order it. It'll give you VIP access to the MAIC. It'll give you VIP seating and breakfast and lunch, and 3 tickets to MAWC, the World Conference. So boy, we have got an incredible golden ticket. When you get your boxes, you're probably gonna be excited to open those up and take a look at it. But so much happening with all these different things going out and people purchasing more tickets. Arlene, what are your final thoughts for everybody?
I think the final thought is that I think this will probably be the last time that we will have hybrid ability to ever be at a conference at this level. And because of that, it is critical, the fact that if it only costs someone $200 for a ticket, and I know what it costs to go down to these events, to not only get there, hotel, food, everything else. And to me, it's not an expense because I was in the corporate world where it costs thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right.
And I still don't know how they do it for $200 a person, to be honest with you. But in reality, this is the easiest time for you to connect people for that kind of price. Plus the fact they get to watch it for 14 days after the fact. Plus you have this swap thing. I like the swap thing. So swap check, what is it called? I know, I was never on the
Swap
computer.
card.
Yeah, well, I wasn't born on the computer. We didn't learn how to do the computer. We didn't start with a computer. Everything was manual. We did Form 1000s. People have no idea what this was like to come at the beginning. It was hard, but it was great. And when they came out with OPC, that was it. I'm the OPC queen. I wrote the retail system and I sold another case today. So I sell by the case. I sell by the case. So anyway, I hope that everybody feels one thing, and that is, let's move forward. Let's change your entire thought pattern and be in a positive formation and start touching people's lives, because there are so many people that need another way of communicating, being with other people, and making more money.
Yeah, agreed. Beautiful. And if you can't be there live for some reason, it's a good idea to get together with 3 or 4 people, 5 or 6 people, get your teammates together at least for a day or two, so you feel that energy as well. Andy, I want to turn it over to you for your final thoughts.
That's a great idea, Jim, to get everybody that's not there at least together so they have
Yeah.
a sense of camaraderie. Arlene is so funny. She walked uphill both ways in foot of snow to school, the old like
That's me. I did. I walked up the hill.
is do we get a Wonka bar with that golden ticket? I'm wondering if I got a Wonka bar in my pack.
Well, you got 15 boxes. You can look.
I think Arlene hit the nail on the head. I mean, the key right now is getting everybody plugged into the system, and doing whatever you can to get people to this event, whether it's in line or online. It's the single most important thing you can do to build your organization. And so hopefully this is a reminder for everyone that it's not too late, particularly now, because you can do it online. I mean, I've gotten people to travel, show them the plan a couple days before a major event where they, bought a ticket and drove down, to Greensboro or drove to even, Miami from Maryland up until the very last minute. So people that are evaluating the business right now are really evaluating the business at an awesome time, because they have a chance to see a little bit bigger picture that they wouldn't otherwise have a chance to do. So we're in a unique situation right now for everybody in the company to really give themselves an opportunity to kind of take a quantum leap with the company, because I think that's what's going to happen over the next year. I think you're going to see a big quantum leap.
Yeah, I agree. Andy, there's a lot of talk about the next chapter of where we're going as a company. And I think that's going to happen at this event. And I can't thank the two of you enough for sharing your time tonight with the people who are on with us, with the people watching through Facebook, and with the people who watch on the recording. You guys are great. You have led the way, but more importantly, you're continuing to lead the way. And I love to see that, because that's what true leadership is. And you are both true leaders. So thank you for taking time. I'm going to turn this over now and let the show finalize off. And I look forward to seeing you at the event, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim.
Every time that we come to this point, for me, I want you to know it's a magic moment. So in each one of you, you have that opportunity. The future's unknown. What decision will you make to apply the things that you learn? Because that magic moment could change your future. We can change the world. I thank you for making this magic moment for me, because every time we come together, I don't know if you'll come back, because you are volunteers, you're entrepreneurs, but you bring your belief and your dreams back to us for this magic moment. God bless you. God bless you.